So even if you have family members who do not want to spend all day at the beach.
Whoa, wait. Why would you not want to spend all day at the beach? I don't understand. Doesn't everybody want to spend all day at the beach?
We have been park hosting at Mustang Island State Park near Corpus Christi, Texas for 2 months now. And the best part for you has been free access to a beach for 2 months.
For people like me, the beach is a great place to just go sit in a beach chair, read a book, maybe wade in the water, look at some shells, and just relax. Other people come here to the beach for the fishing because it's supposed to be really good, and there's a nice jetty that you can fish off, or you can just fish along the shoreline. And one thing that's kind of unique here in Texas is that as long as you are fishing from the shore and not out in the water, you don't need a fishing license.
And being right on the Gulf Coast, I mean, fishing is a big deal here, all up and along this area of Texas. And so, yeah, a lot of people are here doing that. People talk about spending all day kind of sitting in the sun at the beach. But when you're camping here right by the beach, you can really do things all day long. You can get up really early and see the sunrise. It's a good time to go shelling. You've been doing a lot of that. I mean, the shelling here is good enough that Jesse's been getting up early and going to the beach. And you're not a morning person.
No, I'm not a morning person. I will say the shelling is not like fantastic. It probably could be at different times of the year, and that is very cyclical. That's day to day, month to month, throughout the year. So there are good days when there's a lot of stuff washing in, and there's days where there's like not a single shell on the beach. So, but that's why I get up every morning, because you just never know. Today might be the day.
So you can start with a sunrise and walk along the beach and getting shells, but you could also go out to the beach at night. Maybe there's a full moon coming up. That's really pretty to see that coming up over the Gulf and the dunes that are here. Or you can take some lights with you and go look for ghost crabs. You've had fun, doing that too. So
the ghost crabs have been a treat. You see during the day, there will be these big holes on the ground. And then at night, the crabs, and they can be little or quite big size, come out and scurry around. And they're called ghost crabs because they're essentially like a white tan color and blend in with the sand. So you have to be really careful not to step on them. And they do scurry quite quickly. But as soon as you get your flashlight out, you'll start seeing them all over the beach. And I discovered by accident that if I take the UV flashlight out there, many of them fluoresce. And so that was kind of fun. So we took that out a couple times and have been looking at them, both the regular flashlight and the UV light. And we saw one eating a jellyfish one night. We saw a couple of them like playing in the water and then just scurrying around. So they're really fun, but you have to wait till it gets really dark to really see them come out.
And we talked about if you're camping here at the beach, it's obviously easier to access the beach all the time. There are 2 different ways to camp here at Mustang Island State Park. There is a electric and water only campground. I think there's 50 sites out there. It's really just a big parking lot in a lot of ways. It's a parking lot with picnic tables and standing grills.
There is some grass, though. It's not like some places where it really is a parking lot. There is grass, and you're backed up to the marsh and the sand dunes. So
I guess that's true. So behind you is going to be some grass on your site. I think of it as a parking lot because you're really just kind of parking one right after another on the asphalt. It's not like, I don't think people come here necessarily for the campsites.
No.
Would be my point. You're really here because you're either in the area or you want to come to the beach regularly and you're going to be here. So that's one way that you camp. And I think I mentioned it's electric and water only. They do have 20, 30, and 50 amps at the site. And then there is a dump station here at the park for when you leave. And then the other way to camp here is when it's open, you can do beach camping. And I say when open because it depends on the tide. It depends on how much of the sargassum grass has come up. It depends on a lot of different things. So they do close that periodically. But there's a ton of room out there on the beach. And we've seen people out there in tents, and we've seen them in off-road trailers, and I've seen them in the backs of pickup trucks. So it's a really cool way to camp if you want to do that.
But you really, really need 4-wheel drive. And we've seen people in minivans and other things try to get out there, and then they end up getting stuck. So if you don't want to get stuck and try to figure out how to get yourself unstuck and have an exorbitant tow truck fee, I would suggest 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's not like some beaches in Texas where it's driven on enough where it's really kind of become a road. I mean, there's sections of Port Aransas where it's basically a mini dirt road at this point, more so than a beach. We do still have a lot of shifting sand here with the dunes, and it's not driven on as much. So you are going to have that situation. So that's a very good point. But that's something neat and unique if you want to do that.
There are porta potties out there, but there's nothing else. So there's no running water and there's no electricity, but there are porta potties. Well, when the tide is not up and the porta potties aren't tipped over, they've had to remove them. There are porta potties out there, and there's some picnic tables as well. But otherwise, I would, make sure you bring your own everything else, just to make sure that you're pretty self-supported out there.
Yeah, try to be as self-contained as possible. One thing to keep in mind is whether you are in the main campground or you are on the beach camping, there is a relatively new bathhouse here. And it's a nice big bathhouse with bathrooms, toilets, showers, sinks, everything you need for men and women. There are outdoor showers if you just want to rinse off your feet or get some of the sand off before you get in your car or before you go back to your rig, that kind of a thing. And that's relatively new because this park took a major hit with Hurricane Harvey back in 2017, I want to say was when that hit. And I believe this park was closed for 2 or 3 years while they reconstructed a large part of it. And that included the brand new bathhouse at that time. So that's a nice thing to have, whether you're camping here in the campground or you're out on the beach and need to come clean up.
One thing unique to Texas is that you can actually, as we've mentioned, drive on the beach. So here at the park, there are a couple different sections. There's 2 sections where you can drive out onto the beach, and then there is a no vehicle section. So if you want to just take your kids out, set up your tent, and hang out without having to worry about vehicles driving up and down the beach, there's a really nice big section, the main day use section of the park, just for pedestrians only. And then on either end, you kind of can drive out and around and drive down the beaches quite a ways, either toward the camping section or towards just the day use section, where it's bound by the jetties, which is where a lot of people go fishing. So either of those sections you can use for day use, but one is designated specifically for overnight camping and one is just day use only.
And we should point out, you can fish from either end either, right? You can fish from either the jetty end, you can fish from where the camping is. That's where most people do their fishing. It's not a park where you would come here and say, oh, I want to go hiking on the trails, that kind of a thing. But it does have 5 miles of shoreline. There's 5 miles of beach here at this park. So if you want to go for a walk along the beach, you can go for a really long way.
I've done that walk a few times in both directions. And eventually, if you keep going in either directions, you'll hit the end of the boundary of the state park. But quite frankly, you could walk all the way up to Port Aransas if you really wanted to, because the beach just keeps going. It is a really nice beach. Sometimes it's wide and sandy, and sometimes it's pretty compact, depending on how high the water is and how high the sargassum comes in. And I think that is one thing to note. And some people get really frustrated by all of that seaweed washing in, but it is a part of the ecosystem here, and it's really important to the nutrients and just the evolving, like I said, the ecosystem, the life. And so the sargassum all washes up, and then eventually it will get covered by sand, it will decompose, and it will go back in and kind of start that cycle all over. So yeah, there are days when you're kind of walking around it and through it, but it really is just part of the beach life around here.
And it is cyclical, and this is the state park, and then the National Seashore that's down the road are very much a no-touch park. They don't mess with anything that has to do with the ecological system that's going on. And so it doesn't get, swept and cleaned up like they might in some of the city or the county beaches that you might be familiar with. So that is just something to be aware of. We do go out. One of the jobs as a park host is I've been going out and collecting trash, and we pick up trash pretty much every day because there's a lot of trash coming in off of the Gulf. And then you've done it a few times, and I know a lot of people do it. We provide those yellow trash bags.
They're like netting bags.
And they're good for as you're out and about. If you want to help out and pick up trash or pick up the area you're going to sit in, that's always helpful to the park and to the park host. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, and it is interesting when you talk about cyclical, because either sometimes after a storm or just the way the currents go, we had about 2 weeks where it was nothing but trash. I mean, and we're talking like big trash coming in, big plastic bottles and toothbrushes and shoes and you name it, it's coming in, and that whole beach was full of trash. And now we've gone almost a week with absolutely nothing, maybe just little things here and there floating in. So it really is interesting, and that's what you joke about me getting up early, but it's fun to go walk the beach every day and even a couple times a day just to see what's new that has come in overnight or throughout the afternoon.
I mentioned there are 5 miles of shoreline here along the Gulf. This state park also goes across the highway. So across Texas Highway 361 is the bay, and that is also state park property over there. And there's lots of different things you can do on that side, including fishing and kayaking.
we went out kayaking one morning with one of the rangers, and he sort of did an interpretive guide for us, which was really nice. It's a program that they run periodically here throughout the park. So there are kayaks here. You can't really rent them, but if they are doing a specific program, they will have them available for you. And so we took them out one morning and did that and got to see some different hermit crabs and shorebirds, and he pointed out different, ecosystems to us that we wouldn't necessarily have been familiar with. But you can take your own kayaks over there. There's a number of different put-in points that you can just kind of walk into. It's relatively shallow along the shoreline, so you can get in, and then you could paddle around in Corpus Christi Bay as far as you wanted up and down the shoreline and come back. And yeah, I thought that was a really nice that's just like a little extra nice thing here, because you've got the Gulf on one side and then the bay on the other. So there's a couple different opportunities for the water side of things.
And I was going to say, I've noticed a number of campers that come in with their own kayaks. I think it's people that know that it's not just the beach side here at the state park. There's also the bay side, and that can be a lot of fun to do as well.
As long as you're staying here at Mustang Island State Park, you might as well enjoy the other things there are to see and do here in the greater Corpus Christi area. So you can go into Corpus Christi, and there's, your typical shops and restaurants, big city things, but there's the Texas State Aquarium, there's the USS Lexington. So there's there's a botanical garden. So there's a number of things to see and do in Corpus Christi. Or you can drive just right up the road about 10, 15 miles straight up Mustang Island and end up in Port Aransas, where there's otherwise there's more beach there. But you've got the channel where you can watch the big tanker ships come in and out. You can watch the dolphins play in the bay. There's a big nature preserve and a birding center, so you can walk the boardwalks and look for pelicans and spoonbills. And there's even a flamingo. There's apparently an alligator, although we've never seen him. But any kind of wading bird or shorebird that you could want is up in that nature preserve. And so you can go up there a number of times and see all sorts of different birds, depending on what time of month you're here.
And I think both directions, whether you're going to Corpus Christi or Port Aransas, there's decent restaurants, both sort of, more affordable restaurants and fancier restaurants. Corpus Christi has more of the big shopping. I mean, there's like, Sam's, Walmart, H-E-B Plus are all there. So if you need supplies, that's there. What I like about this state park in terms of location is you're kind of centered between them. So at about 20 minutes, maybe, depending on traffic, you can be in Corpus Christi, or you can be at Port Aransas, or you can take a different turn and you end up at the Padre Island National Seashore, which has a nice visitor center and a lot more beach. It's very similar to what you have here at the state park, but is a bigger expanse of beach.
Well, it is the largest protected shoreline. And so you mentioned keeping it pristine. So they don't do a whole lot of maintenance down there as far as the beach is concerned. But yeah, I don't remember, 50 miles.
It's huge.
Or something of beach. Now, again, you need a four-wheel drive vehicle to get down there, unless you're just going to the day use section. But they do offer some camping there as well. They have access, same thing, to the bay and to the Gulf side. So if you've got your national park pass, or you just want to pay the daily entrance fee down there, that's another nice place to go as well. You can get your junior ranger badge. What's cool about the Padre Island National Seashore is that's where they release the sea turtles that they're hatching. This stretch of shoreline is known for turtle nesting, whether that's the Kemp's Ridley or the loggerhead or the green sea turtle. And so April, May, June into the summer is when they start coming up on shore, laying their eggs, and then in 50 days, those eggs will hatch and go out into the water. Well, if you know anything about turtles, the survival rate is not great for a number of reasons, but they are doing a great job here in protecting these endangered species and trying to revitalize them. So when a sea turtle lays their eggs on the beach, if they are able to document it and know where that nest is, they will gather the eggs up. They will then package them up, take them down to Padre Island. They will incubate them. And when the sea turtles hatch, they do a really early in the morning release of all the baby sea turtles. So they're giving them a better chance of survival, because otherwise the hatching rate is super low. But this way it's almost 100% hatching rate. Now, what happens to the turtles when they go in the water is up to them. But at least this is giving them a chance of survival. And you can watch, I guess you can follow along online or by calling and find out when they're going to do a release. And if the time is right, you can go and watch those really early morning sea turtle releases.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to see one.
I don't think so. And I'm glad you clarified that it's a release, not a launch, because
yeah,
picturing these tiny little catapults with baby turtles.
Wouldn't that be cute? Like, woo!
I don't think the turtles would think that was cute. But that's all I can picture. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, that's there's a lot of really cool things to do with nature. There's towns nearby. There's a lot of activity to do in this area. Again, I don't think you necessarily come to Mustang Island State Park for the camping. I think it's a convenience.
I mean, we've been to many other parks where you're definitely not going for the camping. You're going there because it's a place to sleep.
Yeah, and I'm not saying a lot. What's the thing? Location, location, location. And I think this is a prime example of that. While the campground itself maybe not real fancy, but it's a good location, and you have lots of different things you can do right here at the park. You have different things you can do in the area, and so it could make a nice little base camp, whether that's maybe you're just coming out to spend a weekend at the beach, but maybe you want to come spend a week here and then go explore. There's plenty to do.
I mean, I always suggest time at the beach. I can't get enough of the beach. I mean, look at all the shells I've collected. I've even found sand dollars, a lot of sand dollars. And that's something I rarely get elsewhere. So this is a big hotbed.
I like how you said that the shelling wasn't great, but I'm currently trying to figure out how we're going to pack all these shells in the Airstream. Like the rocks that rolled out of the trailer because she hid them. I think I'm going to find shells for a really long time in the Airstream.
Well, and another unique thing here is all the sea beans that wash in from like down in Mexico. And there are all sorts of different types of, I don't know if you can see these on camera, but there's like heart sea beans, there's the brown ones, there's things called hamburgers because they're like little and they've got a little brown ring that look like a hamburger. It's a lot of different types of shells and sea beans that I've seen, like say in Florida on the other side of the Gulf, just because of the way the currents move and you get different things washing up here. So that's why I like going out to the beach every day, because you never know what you're going to find. Or just like random toys or bottles from, it's trash, but bottles from overseas or other countries that wash in because, again, the way the currents somehow, this is a hotbed for trash, unfortunately, is where everything comes. But you do get to see some really unique things.
So as I said, we have been here at Mustang Island State Park as park hosts for a couple of months. We're getting ready to wrap up soon, which is crazy when you think about that, how fast that went by. But yeah, you want more beach. After 2 months, though, I can tell you for sure things you want to be prepared for. There are snakes here, including rattlesnakes, and there are giant red-headed centipedes. Those, not real common, either one of those, but you do see them from time to time.
They were both really cool, though.
They're very cool to see when you do see them. The things that are much more common would be large amounts of mosquitoes and a high amount of wind.
Oh gosh, the mosquitoes, because we're surrounded by like this coastal marshland area, there are a lot of mosquitoes, nonstop mosquitoes. So bring your bug spray. I mean, people warned us, but I was like, okay, yeah, mosquitoes. We're from Michigan. How bad can it be? But man, these suckers are relentless, and they seem ginormous too. Maybe just because they're constantly swarming.
The joke is, I think that they have to always fly into the wind, and so they get bigger, so they can do that. And that's the other thing is, the rangers here when we first got here told us 10 to 15 mile an hour winds is considered no wind here. That's your standard day. But we've had days where we've had 25 mile an hour winds with 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts. And those you are starting to feel. The funny thing is you get used to like a 10 mile an hour wind is just normal, 10 or 15. And then the worst part is you'll go outside and you're like, hey, the wind stopped. And then you have to run because you realize that means the mosquitoes are coming. So a nice wind is good to have.
Actually. And it is hot here. So it is, at least the time that we've been here, it's been a constant 84 degrees during the day and maybe like 74 degrees at night. It never really cools down. And again, that's going to change depending on the time of year, but it's never going to get as hot here as it's going to get inland. It's probably very rare for them to ever get into the triple digits, partly because that wind is constantly blowing and you've got the nice breeze off of the Gulf. And so that way it's keeping it cooler out here. So, but that sun is fierce. So pack your sunscreen, pack your hat, your sunglasses, pack your beach umbrella, your canopy. But yeah, the wind though, we've had to get used to it. And you can probably see my hair blowing around a little bit. Maybe the flag's flying in the background. And
this is a pretty
is a very quiet day, but when it's up into the 40s, your trailer is going to be rocking and your tent's going to be whipping. But it's still gorgeous. It's just it can be sunny and 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's not like it's a big storm coming through. It's just windy.
And the breeze does feel good. We mentioned you've been here 2 months. It'll be April and May that we were here. So again, weather is cyclical. So depending on when you're here, it's going to be a little bit different. But that breeze does help with, because it's a high humidity area. It does get warm and sticky. That breeze does feel really good.
I suppose one good thing, despite the wind, is that you don't have to worry about any trees falling on you, because while there's 0 trees out here, like as in 0, none, no shade whatsoever.
Yeah. I think at one time, one of the rangers was telling me, I think they had 5 trees here at this state park, and Hurricane Harvey took care of that. Those are all gone now. It's great if you have Starlink, I will say. There are no trees blocking Starlink, no obstructions whatsoever.
Well, that's good. But yeah, that's why they have these picnic tables here with the covers on them, because that is like the only shade you're going to get. And you can't put your awning out because it's too windy. So bring a canopy, bring an umbrella, bring a tarp, but just know that there's no trees for shade around you.
And I was going to say, we have the picnic table with a cover here at a camp host site, but every campsite has these.
Yes.
One thing to keep in mind when you're booking your site, and maybe you call and check with somebody, is the way they've got these campsites set up is the picnic tables end up being next to each other. So like every other site, the picnic table is where you expect it on your door side, but your neighbor's going to have it on the back side of their trailer. And so it's a little odd the way they have it set up. And you just kind of have to figure that out. But you might be able to call and find out if you really want to have a picnic table on the door side. You're going to have to think about which site you're booking in.
It's just something different than what we've seen at other state parks. And I'm sure it's the way the electrical and the water is run. This was easier for them. But I don't think we were expecting that layout when we first saw it.
But all in all, Mustang Island State Park is a nice place to hang out if you love the beach, or you don't love the beach, but it's still okay to visit. You know, I do enjoy parts of it. I just don't want to spend all day out there like you do. So even if you have family members who do not want to spend all day at the beach.
Whoa, wait. Why would you not want to spend all day at the beach? I don't understand. Doesn't everybody want to spend all day at the beach?
Not everyone. You could take a nap and wait for your family to get back from the beach and then head to Port Aransas or to Corpus Christi. You could go have a nice meal. You go check out the freighters, go see the dolphins. There's lots of things to do in this area. So if you get to the Gulf Coast area down here in Texas, consider checking out Mustang Island State Park. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.
Bay or over the ocean. But
you also have to deal with mosquitoes, because they're really prolific around here.
Huge.